You know, there's nothing more I love. There's nothing more that I love than football analysts, especially when they're giving their opinions on what a team should do. Let's talk about it. So, this is Speak, which if you guys have never seen Speak live, I've covered a couple times on the channel where I've reacted to clips and talked about clips. But overall wise, pretty much a general consensus of how the Speak goes is we have LaShawn McCoy, who recently said how amazing Josh Allen was and how Josh Allen was way better quarterback. And it's a way, way better quarterback than Joe Burrow. This is right before Joe Burrow beat Josh Allen. Okay. We have my reasonable... Actually, let me take off the image here real fast. We have the reasonable man right here. He actually makes logical points, valid points, and has a brain to him. That's my man right there. That's my man right there. He actually makes the best points. He is literally what carries the show in the logical direction. Shady, while I love Shady, great Eagles running back for so long, he is just illogical and idiotic. Then we have my, I like to call him the protagonist of this. He kind of is a narrator. He keeps everything going and he keeps everything in a solid direction. His job here is to half agree with him and half agree to him. His point of view is not to have his own opinion, just to half agree with both sides, and throughout the whole entire thing, say, oh yeah, you're right, I agree with you. Oh, I agree with you too. Like, yeah. And then we have to have a woman in there, so that's the woman part. I'm just kidding. I don't know. She makes valid points sometimes. She kind of just doesn't really make points. She kind of just says, yeah, that's true, yeah. And that's pretty much, that's the Speak for you, okay? That's a general consensus of what the Speak is. Alright, so let's get right into it, because they're going to talk about in this video, I'm going to react to this, is the Bengals need to protect Joe Burrow. But they say, at what cost? So I'm going to play this, stop it halfway through, give my thoughts and opinions. I got to put the thing on the screen, because if not, they'll take down my video. You already know that already.
If we want to protect Joe more on the offensive line, we can do that. But James, at what cost to Joe?
Good point. That's a real good point.
Remember, if you go back to the Bengals, Joe Burrow's second year, they could have drafted Penei Sewell. They could have done it. But what'd they do instead, Shady?
Chase.
They took Jamar Chase. How are the Bengals going to have to restructure the roster? Because if you want to put more money into the offensive line, you can. But T. Higgins got to get paid.
Yeah.
If you want to put more money into the offensive line, you can. But Tyler Boyd going to want to re-up. If you want to put more money into the offensive line, you can. But Jamar Chase is up.
Yeah.
So.
All right, so let me, before we play the rest of this video, let me just break down how stupid they sound. If you want to put more money in the offensive line, you can. So let's bring up the fact that they drafted Jamar Chase and not Penei Sewell 3 years ago. What happened since they drafted Jamar Chase? They put over $60 million into a left tackle this offseason. They put $30 million into a right guard who came over from Tampa Bay. They used a first-round draft pick. Actually, Jonah was actually the year before Joe and Chase. 2 years before Chase, 1 year before Joe. They put, Collins. They went over there in Dallas and gave Collins a, $15-20 million contract. So they spent $20 million at right tackle. They spent $25+ million at right guard. Then, of course, a left tackle. They spent 60-some-odd million. What are you talking about? They spent money on the offensive line to protect Joe. Listen, this is why I've said so many freaking times. And I'll say it to the cows come home at this point. The problem isn't to go out there, pick a player off the street, pick a player off another team and say, bam, fixed. I fixed the problem. I put this guy on our team and he was successful on this team. And you do that and you think you're going to fix the problem. It's not going to fix the problem. This is what I've been saying with Cordell Volson. Everyone's like, oh, pick up another left guard. Pick up another guard. Trade for a guard. And guess what's going to happen? You're going to get another guard and he's going to be just as much of a failure as Cordell Volson is. Because 100% of it is not on Cordell Volson. 100% of it is honestly not even on, the offensive line in general. You got to look at the overall problem here, and it's not just the offensive line. It's play calling. It could be Frank Pollock. You could make that valid point. Sure, somebody probably thought about that in their head and commented down below. Could be Frank Pollock. It could be, obviously, it is play calling. It is also the game flow, how the team is doing, whether they're one-dimensional or two-dimensional, right? So there's all these things that go together into, well, the offensive line is the problem. And when you really break it down, and I know it's easier just to say, oh, well, you just spend more money at the offensive line position. They are correct on the fact that these other guys are going to want money, and you can't keep spending money on the offensive line. Because the problem is, if you don't realize you have the problem, and again, potentially could be coaching with Frank Pollock, you're not going to fix the problem by spending more money on the offensive line. You're not doing anything. All you're doing is throwing money at a problem and hoping it gets fixed. There is nothing wrong with the players we have on this offensive line, except for the fact we cut La'el Collins. Cutting La'el Collins was stupid. Because you have Jonah, who first year as a right tackle, coming up from left, and we expected him to be the best right tackle of all time. So far this season, he has not been that great. That was stupid. You had a veteran in there, and you cut him because of you want to save money, apparently. That's pretty much all the excuse we got. That made no sense. But other than that, you pay all that money for Orlando Brown to bring him over. You pay all that money for Kappa. You pay all that money for Collins. They paid the money to bring this offensive line and protect Joe. It's not a problem of go spend more money on offensive line and try to get more pieces around Joe. The problem is, again, bigger than that. And that's what's really scary. Is you can always make excuses and say, this is the problem, this could be it, this could be it, this could be it. Because everyone wants to find a quick solution that they can fix. And overnight, I have the problem, I can solve it, I promise you, I have the one-stop solution. No, you don't. Because this is not an easy solution. This is listen, the offensive line is struggling. Coaching is a problem. Offensive coordinator could be a problem. It is a problem. Frank Pollock is the problem. The game flow and how we play is a problem. It's not a throw money at this issue and hope it goes away problem. That's not going to work. You could get the best offensive line out there. You could keep going out there and spending millions of dollars on offensive linemen. And I promise you, unless you're going to get in generational talents like Quentin Nelson out there, what you're going to find is nothing changes. Okay? Nothing is going to change. Because if you don't fix the root problem, you're not going to fix the problem with Band-Aids. I'm sorry, you're just not going to. So listen less of this.
Joe Burrow has allowed this team to look over the offensive line so he can have his dogs. But Shady, you say it and I agree with it. Joe Burrow has never had a bad receiving core.
Never.
At LSU, he had Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Thaddeus Moss, the son of Randy Moss, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, gets to the league, got Jamar Chase, got Tyler Boyd, got T. Higgins, and got Joe Mixon. If you want to supplement the Bengals offensive line, please do so. But just know it's a zero-sum game. If you rob from Peter, you're going to pay Paul, but Peter going to...
I don't think do they not even look at the Bengals offensive line? Like, the money we spent on that offensive line is ridiculous. So to sit there and say, like, oh, well, the Bengals are, not spending money on the offensive line, not trying to better the offensive line, not trying to do all these things to fix the offensive line, that's just an incorrect statement. It's just not even true. I'm not saying that it's working, and it's not, but you can't sit there and say, oh, well, they're not doing anything. They're clearly doing stuff. They're clearly trying to get better. But the problem is they're not looking at the root problem. They're trying to look over the root problem. And you're never going to fix something if you don't fix the main problem. And I think that's really what it comes down to here. And that's really the story to talk about, the problem to talk about, is going to be fixing the root cause. But again, they're never going to do that. And it's just a endless cycle of insanity trying to, fix something that, you could easily fix if you could just look at it in the correct orientation. So, I don't agree with any of their takes this show. I think that what they're saying is that the Bengals need to go out there and get free agents, but they can't because of the fact that, they have to spend money on other players. And I agree with that. They do have to spend money on other players because they already did it for free agents for the line. Yeah, it's a never endless battle, and these analysts are just not going to understand that. They're really not. And, yes, I think this year we should be drafting a right tackle in the first round. And we'll see how that kind of goes on from there. And we'll try to get a franchise right tackle. But unless you get a generational player with the offensive line position, you're not going to see any difference. Because it's not the offensive line that's fully the problem. Again, I repeat this. Fully the problem. Do they bear some responsibility? Absolutely. But it's not like we didn't go out there and try to get a great offensive lineman for Joe. We did. It just simply isn't working. It's not going to work if we just bring in other players. It's not. There's a root cause you got to fix. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.